This morning, funding for Ukraine faces an uncertain future in the U.S. Congress. House Speaker Mike Johnson, he's facing international pressure to act. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg is urging the U.S. to follow through on its promises to help defend Ukraine. As of now, Speaker Johnson refuses to take up a $95 billion foreign aid bill that passed the Senate in bipartisan fashion and does include aid for Ukraine.
Joining us now is New York Democratic Congressman Adriano Espaillat. He's on the Appropriations and Budget Committees. He's also the deputy chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I know it must be hard to enjoy this recess while everyone's pointing out that you shouldn't be on it. What kind of pressure is there for the Congress to act?
Well, I really wish we were back there tackling this. I mean, this is truly a five-alarm fire. And after getting close to the second anniversary of this conflict, Ukraine really needs this. But Europe needs this. I think that the world needs this. So much rides on this, the European economy, our economy, and the future of NATO, of course.
Was it a mistake to put Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan all in one package?
I thought it was a mistake to saddle it with immigration. Immigration,
which Republicans had called for.
Requires a separate discussion. But, you know, we see a bill now that has $60 billion for Ukraine, 14 for Israel, some help, yes, under $10 billion for Gaza. So this is what we need to do. It's about $95 billion, and it was bipartisan in the Senate, which is difficult to do to begin with. But to reject it before you even read it, I think is malpractice.
You know, we've heard from Munich, people in Europe using the phrase discharge petition like they understand what it means when most of Americans, don't understand what it means. But basically, if you get enough signatures, you can get this bill on the floor. Do you have Republicans who are willing to sign up?
They got a call from their political boss, and he told them not to do it. And this is where we are. This is the state. This is the state of politics. They got a call from Trump, and he's their political boss, and he's running the equivalent of a Tammany Hall in Washington. And so we're very concerned that he's dictating to them what to do. The American people see right through this. They saw this in New York when we had the recent election and saw Swazi win. And we'll continue to win those seats because the American people want some level of resolution to these conflicts.
Should Democrats, though, be concerned about the conversation around immigration? Is that gaining steam with voters? We found that President Biden's actually leading Democrats to embrace kind of tougher policies, right, than he originally, in a way, campaigned on. How are you thinking about this now?
Well, look, everyone agrees that immigration is broken. Everyone agrees that the border needs fixing. President Biden has done all he could. He put forward a parole program, a family reunification program very early on. And we saw the numbers tame down a little bit. And now he agreed on a piece of legislation that includes some of the toughest border security measures promoted by the Republicans who then went ahead and voted against it. And so he's done all he could. The Republicans were involved in this bogus impeachment process on Mayorkas. Trying to play out a perception of immigration that it is now. In fact, immigration has been around since the Reagan years. Reagan did things on it. George Bush and his son George W. Bush did legislation on it. So he's been dragging for decades, and they try to place it at the doorstep of Mayorkas during a bogus impeachment process, which first they had no votes for, and then they barely passed it by one vote. So this is where they're at. They're weaponizing immigration. They want to see if they can get votes for it. But what we saw in Long Island a couple of weeks ago is that the American people don't want the politics of division. They want a resolution to the problem. That's correct.
Do you think there's any executive action that President Biden can take prior to the State of the Union on immigration? There's some reporting that it's being considered.
I would like to see some balanced approach to immigration, maybe something on Dreamers and border security. I'm a part of the Dignity Act, which is a bipartisan legislation with Republicans and Democrats that has immigration reform components to it and border security things that I may not agree with. But you can't have it all in this discussion. You got to reach consensus. The Dignity Act is a good step forward.
One more thing. There are now 67,000 migrants under New York City's care. More than 173,000 migrants have arrived in New York City since spring in 2022. That's according to a City Hall spokesperson. What are you actually hearing from voters in your district who are frustrated by this?
First, the work permit, I think, is the solution to that. People want to work. That's the bottom line. Immigrants who want to work, and the economy needs them. But I think that we should step up and give cities across the country $3 billion. They need that.
But the mayor has been pretty harsh on the administration.
Well, the mayor has asked for what the city needs, which is funding to avert a budget crisis. We need money for housing. We need money for food. I think it's more around $3 billion as opposed to $1.4 billion, which is what the White House is advocating for.
I want to ask you before we let you go here. Rashida Tlaib, member of Congress from Michigan, is urging voters there to vote uncommitted in the Democratic primary, which President Biden is running in, to show opposition to President Biden over his handling of the Israeli war with Hamas. How do you feel about a member?
I disagree. I think the option is a very dark option. That's Donald Trump. So what do you tell voters? Vote against Biden and as a result elect Trump, who implemented the Muslim ban as his first piece of action when he first got elected? I think is misguided and it's a mistake.
Congressman, thank you very much for being with us this morning. Appreciate it.